Oh, hello, universe. So we are we got a podcast thing going right now. This is pretty cool. This is definitely a different environment here in the household for my desk, I guess I should say, because we've had all the previous episodes of Mortality Diversity filmed in here. Actually, season 1 is now done. The final episode is going to be coming out not this Friday, but the following Friday. So definitely stay tuned for that one. So I am very excited about what is going to be happening at the end of this month, beginning of next month. And I did a reel about it a little bit ago about like, oh, well, I'm going to be shaving my head and getting a full scalp tattoo. And it's overwhelming, and the reasoning behind it is around domestic violence and sexual assault and things like that. And I could throw a pity party and be all depressy about it and tell you guys all my emotional heart and feeling and stuff like that, but that's not what I want to do. So I have decided that I'm going to take the notes that I write while I'm doing this and kind of have like a philosophical kind of discussion with you guys. So something that's been kind of on my mind in this transitional stage about like coming up to the shaving of my head, since last night was actually probably the second to last time that I will wash this hair. So that definitely hit a little bit hard. It's exciting, but also it has put me in a state where I'm thinking a lot about what this hair has been through with me, the drugs that I did in my depressive states, my suicide attempt, all of these different things that have kind of ebbed and flowed through my life that I'm not proud of necessarily, but I can't really blame myself for, because that's not healing. That's neglect, actually, if you're going to be blaming yourself for your trauma. So with that in mind, I've been thinking about the locations that really stress me out when I'm around places that either he was really violent to me in, or he left me or abused me or anything like that. Or maybe I had actually a really good memory with my abuser in this location and I wasn't able to fully process it at the time, how much that space was going to be tainted by his energy. Because at the time I thought like, oh, this is like healthy, this is good, this is what love feels like. No, that was what Stockholm Syndrome felt like. That's what abuse felt like. That's what neglect and a predatory man preying on a young girl feels like. But these places have caused so much anxiety that when I drive by them, I get like nauseous. I get butterflies in my stomach. My like chest gets tight. Sometimes I'll get a little dizzy. I'll go into that like autopilot, like PTSD mode where I'm like, nope, we're not there right now. We're not dealing with that. And I just turn off. There's no thinking, there's no rushing, there's no fighting, there's no freezing. There's just this state of keep breathing, keep your heart beating, and don't look. So with that in mind, I've been thinking a lot about this. I'm going to pull up my notes here. So this is something I'm practicing, so it's not like I'm going to be trying to like teach lessons of philosophy or anything like that in this, but more so just kind of like discuss. And if any of you guys have any input or anything like that, I would definitely appreciate it, because I know I'm not the only one who's had domestic violence experiences or sexual assault experiences. So my note says, stop looking at trauma locations as such and something someone did to you, but start looking at the part of you that was left there. So this kind of, to me, means that you could keep looking at this space as a place of trauma, that this could continue to be a place of torture and torment in your mind, that like, I have to avoid that place. I have to avoid that place. I have to avoid that place. But the more places that you're avoiding, the more you're limiting and making your world smaller. That's isolating. That's like a confinement. You're pretty much putting yourself into like a trauma prison when you're doing this. So by looking at it and shifting your perspective to kind of this mode of having respect for the person you were before you walked into that space for the first time, or when that abuse happened in that location. Maybe you had a good memory there as a little kid, and then when you were 15, you walked to the same spot and the abuse happened, and now it is not the same place. If you can go back to that first time you went to that place, what that feels like, what that excitement was, maybe you met a dog or like something that was memorable, that was positive, or if there was nothing positive in that location at all and it was just this one sole memory of violence or aggression, then start looking at this place of a resting place for that part of your soul. So when you go there or drive by there, or even just think about that place, to start shifting your perspective into the note of that girl that went there before that happened was so innocent that I can forgive her for the abuse that happened, because it's not your fault, obviously, and I hope that you can acknowledge that for yourself, but I also hope that you can acknowledge that there was a piece of you that was taken there, and you can miss that part of you. You can make that place about you. You don't have to make that about them and what they did to you and what their actions caused in your life. You can shift this perspective entirely away from them into regaining your power. So I'll read that one more time now that this perspective has been put forward. Stop looking at trauma locations as such and something someone did to you, but start looking at the part of you that was left there. That is pretty much all I got for the day. But I just wanted to get this started because I knew that if I didn't start this at some point soon, the start date might never happen. So I figured I would just go for it. Hopefully the podcast will be released tomorrow. It'll be available on my podcast. It's available pretty much everywhere. It's called Sequoia and the Dead. I personally share it from my Spotify. So if you have a Spotify, check that out. And yeah, definitely go check out my website and my company as well, thedeadroots.org. We have a great array of projects that are going up there right now. It is in a startup phase, so everything are my projects so far. But we're looking for more artists. So if there's any artists out there that see this video, definitely come and let me know, because I would love to talk to you and get you involved. We just got our artist contracts completed. We're getting it approved by our lawyer this week. And we'll start getting artists onto the site hopefully next week. So stay tuned. Definitely tune into the Dead Roots podcast as well. I will be your host there as well. But mortality diversity, I'm really excited to bring to the floor. You'll be seeing that on our podcast, or on my podcast, Sequoia and the Dead, but also on the Dead Roots podcast, both available on Spotify and pretty much everywhere else you can think of. Mortality diversity is a project I'm doing, trying to break down the barriers around the stigma behind death, because people tend to get really, really caught up in this taboo bubble and be like, nope, we're not talking about it. We're not looking about it. It's similar to the locations that we were just talking about. There's just this off, nope, don't want anything to do with it. So we're not going to participate, but we need to participate. Everyone participates in death at some point in their life, I guess. It's unavoidable. So we're going to talk about it. And we have with some really amazing people so far. The final episode, and again, not being released tomorrow, but, or I guess today, depending on when you see this. But next Friday. And yeah, I'm getting a little bit frazzled now because, again, this is my first one on here in quite some time, and the first one ever on Sequoia and the Dead with a proper mic setup. I've been learning. I've been learning the tech things. Not very good at it yet. It took me 2 hours to figure this out for a, 10-15 minute video. But stay tuned. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys on the other side. Live spicy. Bye.